One day before my 18th birthday, I was discovered by my intern director walking around downtown Louisville, walking into retail stores, blessing people, spreading the good word, proclaiming I was a prophet of God. Soon after, I was escorted to the hospital, where, after some discussion, I promptly signed myself into the psych ward for 1 week. Super fun! I was diagnosed with what was then called manic depression. It's now known as bipolar disorder. And as you may know, it's a condition that presents with flashy symptoms of excessive irritability, exaggerated optimism, decreased need for sleep, spending sprees, rash business decisions, erratic driving, sexual promiscuity, grandiose delusions, and in the most severe cases, hallucinations. Nowadays, the average length of time between the first onset of symptoms and a correct diagnosis is 12 years. Super fun. I consider myself very lucky due to the early catch by some gifted doctors. So much so, I graduated from basic pharmacology through talk therapy to the point where I became fodder at cocktail parties. Like, if you happen to bring it up, or I happen to bring it up, people are like, "What's it like to be manic, man? What's it like?" Or, "What were you thinking when you thought you were Jesus?" And then they proceed to tell you of their moodiness, their crazy moment, their worst fight, the time they did mushrooms and smoked Thai stick with their friends, and ran around naked in a field near the university, and how all-encompassing manic it was. Like, they're so bipolar. To which I usually say, "You are so not." Fucktard. But they're insistent, and the conversation shifts to books, poetry, music. They mention Rilke, Hemingway, Sinead O'Connor, Ben Stiller, Carrie Fisher. They struggle for words on how to describe mania, and it was at one of these parties that someone described it as your mind taking flight. Now, I wish I could say I love metaphors, but I'm living with this shit! You must call a thing what it actually is. Words are exact. Use them correctly. That's the only way to stay sane. So how can I be up here advocating for flight with the malign memory of its use? Flight has spread itself way too thin, starting from the Skyrockets in Afternoon Delight song to, what was the title of that Denzel Washington movie? Did anyone see it? Was it any good? Netflix? Anyway. Besides, I'm working uphill here, as the very title of this fabled competition implies favor from my literary compatriot. While we're on it, in regards to flight, every dorm room bull session Buddhist knows that to win any battle, you must give up attack. And I know, many of us react to fear with flight. In the hospital, I gave the orderly a list of celebrities I wanted him to call and arrange meetings with. He responded by injecting me with Thorazine. I suddenly felt my bloodstream kick into high gear. I began running laps around the day room to counteract the effect of the tranquilizer. That lasted 2 minutes. Then they locked me in my room to sleep it off. So many of us do the psych flight, the run away from the problem, the geographical cure, the numbing out of troubles by any means to disappear, compulsive masturbation, message checking, internet use, television viewing, reading Us Weekly, fucking anonymous strangers, and the ever popular turning your short-term lover into a long-term relationship or marriage that you don't really want. I know some of you are here tonight. Thank you for coming. But just to put it to rest, 20 minutes of meditation a day can literally change the fight or flight response within your body. So the battle is null and void. Let's fly above it, shall we? There's another metaphor. Flight is means of transcendence, rising above, lifting yourself up. Steve, you've done really well for yourself. You've done really, really well. You're flying high. It's true, I've dealt with violence, homelessness, girlfriends dumping me for it, insurance company discrimination, employment discrimination, and I have been told to shut up about it, for which I am truly grateful. I even worked as an advocate for the Depression Bipolar Support Alliance in the 90s, writing publications and speaking to others living with the illness. Incredible voices of people in that bottomless black hole. And there's nothing more healing than bearing witness to others at their worst, having been there yourself. I worked briefly with one of my heroes, Dr. Kay Redfield Jameson. She lives with bipolar and wrote the medical text for the DSM-4. Not the 5th edition that's being published this month. It's compromised. She's written many books, so I had to Google her for a quote tonight because she's the bomb, and she writes, The intensity, glory, and absolute assuredness of my mind's flight made it very difficult for me to believe once I was better that the illness was one I should willingly give up. Moods are such an essential part of the substance of life, of one's notion of oneself, that even psychotic extremes in mood and behavior somehow can be seen as temporary, even understandable reactions to what life has dealt. And I'm like, what the F? She uses flight in its imaginative properties. Why can't I? I've hated metaphor. You call a thing what it is. It's the only way to stay sane, and that's where I check myself. You're only worried about staying sane if you're afraid of insanity. And trying to control words that label you crazy make you crazy. This has been my flight up to now. So I am reminded, words are meant to be nebulous. We mumble and distort them, cradle to grave, and they're the best we can do on short notice. Flight allows us to tell the tale and let it go. You can have your flight, your big bipolar moment, and I can have mine. Now, mine will be a little different. But as we flip and play and change the word, it changes us. And stigma drains more quickly from society. Maybe we all grow up a little bit more together. Thank you.